good morning. Last week we started this topic, pollution, and we're able to treat the first part. Today we'll be going on the second part of this topic. And do not forget, last week we stopped here, that is, commonly used equipment or process of controlling dust in the industry, and after which we move on to controlling toxic fuel gases. And by the special grace of God, today we will be continuing from where we stop. So how can we control air pollution at home? The first one there is we must avoid the use of chemical pesticides or fertilizers in yard and garden. We must make sure we desist from the use of chemical in destroying pests, and also the use of fertilizers in yard and garden. 2. Compost yard waste instead of burning it. That is, it is preferable for us to bury waste to make them compost instead of gathering them and burning them, as this will produce smoke into the environment. Then we should use alternate method to domestic heating instead of using wood stove or fire place. Thank God today we are now defecting to the use of gas, and I think this one has been saving our environment. So instead of using wood stove or any other source of fire. Then 4, we must be energy efficient. That is, we have to make sure that the machines and many engines we use at home, or let me say appliances we use at home, has to be the one that will not produce smoke. That is, that we give complete combustion. Then 5, plant trees and encourage others to plant trees as well, because trees serve as windbreakers, and when we have them around, it will be difficult for wind to carry the sand, which will lead to storms, or with the help of trees, erosion will also be prevented. Then 6, we must avoid smoking at home, office, or outside. In fact, I would rather say here that if you smoke, you will only be shortening your lifespan, because it is a usual saying that smokers are liable to die young. So I will advise you, as younger people, avoid smoking in any form. Then how can we avoid air pollution on the road? 1, we must keep our vehicle well maintained. That is, we have to make sure that our vehicle is performing well, and it must be the one that will be able to burn fuel. That is, that we have a high efficiency in terms of burning fuel. Then 2, drive less. If you know you are going to a place very close that you know you can trek, instead of going with your vehicle, go on trekking, and with that driving will be reduced. Then don't idle your vehicle. If stopped for more than 30 seconds, except in traffic, turn off your engine. That's an advice for those of us with cars or that love driving cars. If you know you'll be stopping for 30 seconds or more, please turn off your engine instead of making it idle. Then don't buy more car than you need. At least with that, you'll be driving less, and release of smokes or soot to the environment will be reduced. Now, soil pollution. Soil pollution, which is another type of pollution. Don't forget, we have treated water pollution, we have treated air pollution, and now we have soil pollution. So soil pollution is defined as the presence of toxic chemicals, that is pollutants or contaminants, in the soil in high enough concentration, that is in high concentration, in high amounts, to an extent that it now poses a risk to human health or the ecosystems, that is to an extent that it now causes harm to man and plants as well as our belongings. Soil pollution. Now, causes of soil pollution. The first one is soil erosion. Soil erosion. And don't forget, we all know that for soil erosion, it is caused by some agents like wind, like flood, and also as a result of human activities such as construction, overgrazing, farming, and deforestation. All these activities of human results in soil erosion. Then industrial waste. Various pollutants exist in the soil from industry, and activities of industry such as discharge of chemicals, fertilizers, and also pharmaceutical substances into the soil. This will pollute the soil, causes soil pollution. Then urban waste. This includes some solid waste like plastics, glass, ferrous, that is iron, metals, and non-iron metals. Then paper, etc. All these constitutes soil pollutants, in which many of them are non biodegradable and are harmful to the society. Pollutants such as plastics, metals, and even some form of rubbers. Many of them are non-biodegradable. That is, they cannot be acted upon by microbes in order to cause their decomposition. So rather, they stay on the land for years without being decomposed. Now, another one is agricultural activities. There are some activities on farmland that could lead to soil pollution. Example is the use of strong fertilizer, use of pesticides, use of inorganic chemicals for increasing productivity. All these activities at times leads to soil pollution. Then biological agents, human and animal waste, they will enter the soil, pause, and decompose. So as they do that, it will enhance the growth of microorganisms, which can lead to disease infection. That is, animal waste such as feces, dungs, and so on and so forth. Once they enter into the soil, they decompose and give room for the growth of microorganisms, which can cause diseases in human and even in plants. Then storage of waste in landfills. The waste products may leak into groundwater or generate polluted vapor. If you are the type that live in rural area where you always pass through a landfill area, it will be very difficult for you to breathe in such area, because the kind of odor that will be coming from the landfills will be very offensive. So, and apart from that, waste products may leak from such landfill into groundwater, and when you drink such water, what will happen? Disease may arise. So it is advisable not to engage in such acts that can lead to harm to human and plants. Now, effects of soil pollution. 1. Toxic substances affect plant growth and human life. We all know that. Once you have toxic substances mixed with the soil where crops are planted or where trees are planted, what will happen? It will affect the growth of such plants and even affect human life. Then waterlogging and salinity will make the soil infertile. Well, if you have a landfill area and during downpour, such area will be waterlogged, and that will affect the fertility of such area. When you have excess of water lodged in a particular area, such soil will be infertile, and it may also increase the salinity, that is the saltness of such particular soil. Then 3, hazardous chemicals enter into food chain from soil, disturbing the biochemical process. If we are not that careful, some of these harmful substances from the soil can enter into food chain via plants, and this is even dangerous to human, because when we feed on such plants, it could result to ill health in us. Now, control of soil pollution. How can we control soil pollution? But before that, this is point 4, that is causes and effect of soil pollution. Soil pollution could lead to nervous disorder, gastrointestinal disorder, joint pain, respiratory problems, as well as many other problems in human, and also have adverse effects on plants. Now, control of soil pollution. 1, soil erosion must be prevented or controlled by proper tree plantation. We have said it earlier that trees serve as a wind and erosion breaker. So it is advisable for us to go green, for us to plant trees in our environment. Then 2, proper treatment of industrial and domestic waste. Industrial and domestic waste should be treated properly, and if it is possible, all those plastics and other forms of substances from the industry can be recycled for use. Then use of synthetic fertilizer must be discouraged. I've said it earlier, synthetic fertilizer, its use must be discouraged and must be replaced with natural ones, such as compost manure. Then 4, sensitization of people on the danger of soil pollution and the need to prevent it. We must sensitize people for them to know the danger behind soil pollution and the need for everyone to prevent soil pollution. Then 5, strict enforcement of environmental protection law. A strict law must be enacted that will bind people from polluting the soil, from, for instance, depositing waste on land, which could result to landfills. There must be some law that must be put in place. Thank God for our government now, because it is now compulsory for every home to have a toilet. So, and with such law in place, it will help to control soil pollution. Then use of toxic and non-biodegradable materials must be discouraged. Toxic materials and biodegradable materials must be avoided. We must avoid the use of these materials. Then recycling and reuse of industrial and domestic waste. I've said this also, that plastics and some other industrial waste can be recycled for use, and with that it will prevent soil pollution. Now, greenhouse effects. This is the process by which radiation from a planet's atmosphere warms the planet's surface temperature above what it would be without this atmosphere. That is, radiation from the sun on hitting the surface of the earth, it will warm the earth. And this will make the temperature of the earth to rise above what it will be without those radiation. And this effect, we call it greenhouse effect. It's been likened to the normal greenhouse where we plant our crops. The essence of that greenhouse is to trap heat into the plant and regulate the amount of heat that we get to the plant. Then it is the warming of Earth's surface and troposphere. Troposphere is the lowest layer of the atmosphere that is very close to the surface of the earth, due to the presence of gases known as greenhouse gases. That is, these greenhouse gases are those gases that help to trap the heat, that helps to trap the radiation. And the radiation we are actually talking about here is the infrared radiation that leads to heating of the earth surface, and that is why living is possible on earth. The greenhouse gases help to trap this radiation. And greenhouse gases, these are gases that help to redirect the heat energy emitted from the earth surface back to the earth, and they help in heating of the earth. Examples of greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, and some artificial chemicals such as chlorofluorocarbons. So all these gases helps to absorb helps to absorb heat, which will warm the Earth's surface, and we maintain the temperature of this planet to a level in which living can exist. Enhanced greenhouse effect or global warming. That is, when we have too much of these greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere, they will trap excess of heat back to the Earth's surface, which will cause overwarming of the planet Earth, a phenomenon known as global warming. So human activities such as burning of fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, agriculture and land clearing increase the concentration of greenhouse gases, which in turn causes an overheating of the Earth's surface. When we have too much of these gases present in the atmosphere, they will trap excess infrared radiation onto the Earth's surface, which will cause overheating of the planet. This results in excessive rise in the temperature of the Earth's surface, a phenomenon known as global warming. Now, effects of global warming. It includes change in climate. That is, we have a sudden change in climate. It will be very difficult to predict the climate or the season. Then there will be higher death rates, dirtier air, higher wildlife extinction rates. Then oceans will be more acidic, higher sea levels, and that is why we can have flood. There will be existence of flood. Then 7, melting glaciers, and many other effects. We have various other effects of global warming. Then 7, forests, farms, and cities will face troublesome new pests, as new pests will develop due to adjustment of the present pests into the sudden change in environment, and this will make them grow more resistant to the existing pesticides. Then there will be heat waves, heavy downpour, and increased flooding. All these damage and destroy agriculture and fisheries. So steps in greenhouse effect can be summarized as follows. That is, all the steps we've discussed in greenhouse effect, we can summarize them to these steps. Step 1, solar radiation reaches the Earth's atmosphere, and some of this is reflected back into the space. 2, rest of the sun's energy, that is the one that is trapped by the earth, is absorbed by the land and the oceans eating the earth. That is, rest of the sun's energy which absorb into the earth moves into the land and oceans, and this helps to heat the earth. Then heat radiates from the earth towards space. Part of the heat that got to the earth is radiated back to the space, and with the help of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, such heat is being trapped back to the earth, and this helps to keep the surface of the earth warm in order to sustain what? Life. Steps in greenhouse effect still continues. So step 5, human activities such as burning fossil fuels, agricultural practices, and land clearing increases the amount of concentration of these greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere. And when we have excess of these greenhouse gases, more heat is trapped to the surface of the earth, and this could lead to a phenomenon known as global warming, that is overheating of the earth's surface. Now, ozone. Ozone is an inorganic molecule with the chemical formula O3. So it is a pale blue gas with pungent smell, and it is an allotrope of oxygen and is much less stable than the diatomic oxygen, that is O2, and it breaks down easily at the lower atmosphere to dioxygen, to O2. Ozone layers in the atmosphere helps to prevent many things. It prevents most harmful UVB and UVA wavelengths of ultraviolet light, that is UV light, from passing through the earth's surface. As if this happens without the help of these ozone layers, some diseases may result. That is, UV light, excess of it on the earth's surface could cause skin cancer, premature skin aging, that is, changes including wrinkle formation, which we know as photoaging. Then it could lead to sunburn and cataracts. Cataract is disease of the heart, as well as harming plants and animals. So just like I said it earlier, that ozone layers helps to prevent many things. It prevents diseases such as skin cancer, premature skin aging, and destruction of ozone, a process known as Chapman cycle. Ozone is formed from dioxygen with the help of UV light. The dioxygen is dissociated into two free radicals, and the radical combine with the oxygen in the atmosphere to give us ozone. And for destruction of ozone, this takes place also in the presence of light, UV light, where ozone is dissociated into radical, oxygen radical, and dioxygen. The oxygen radical further reacts with ozone to give us two molecules of dioxygen. Ozone layer depletion is just the thinning of the Earth's ozone layer in the upper atmosphere, and this is caused by the release of some harmful chemicals known as ozone depleting substances into the environment. These substances contain gaseous chlorine or bromine. And examples of the ozone depleting substances are halocarbon refrigerants, solvents, propellants, and foam blowing agents known as chlorofluorocarbons, and all other halons. All these chemicals, they are chemicals that leads to ozone layer depletion. That is, they catalyze the degradation of ozone, or let me say destruction of ozone. These substances, once transported into the atmosphere, release halogen atoms through photodissociation. They release halogen atom through photodissociation, which could catalyze the breaking down of ozone. Then the halogens will in turn catalyze the breaking down of ozone into oxygen. The ODS, by photodissociation, they form free radicals such as hydroxy radicals, nitric oxide radicals, chlorine radical, and bromine radical. All these catalyze the breaking down of ozone. Why most hydroxy radicals and nitric oxide radical, they occur naturally in the stratosphere, they occur naturally in the atmosphere. A rise in the levels of chlorine and bromine in the atmosphere is caused by human activities. That is, OH radical and NO radical occurs naturally. But for chlorine and bromine radicals in the atmosphere, is caused by human activities. Then these halogens are present in stable organic compounds such as chlorofluorocarbons, which can travel to the atmosphere without being destroyed owing to their low reactivity. Chemistry of ozone layer depletion. So the first stage is the initiation reaction, that is production of the halogen radicals in the presence of a UV light. The ODS dissociates to give us two forms of radical. Then the halogen radical in propagation step 1 reacts with ozone to form another radical, halo radical, ClO dots. And for propagation step 2, the ClO radical combine with oxygen radical to give us the O2 and another halo radicals. The process continues like that, and the oxygen radical we now react with ozone to give us two molecules of oxygen, dioxygen, as the overall effect of all these changes of, or let me say, these reactions. That is, combining step 1 and step 2 will give us the overall effect, O3 plus O radical, to give us two molecules of oxygen. Now note, this reaction continues with one chlorine radical from one chlorofluorocarbon molecule, catalyzing the breaking down of up to 100,000 ozone molecules. Wow, this is a lot for one chlorine radical to catalyze the breaking down of 100,000 ozone molecules. You can see how fast the ozone layers can deplete with time if human activities are not checked. So that is it for today. And like I said last week, this brings us to the end of second semester, but we still have some topics in fourth semester which we need to treat. So see you next week.